Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of PUBG Map Breakdown. Today is a special episode because I am joined by none other than GuaB from Liberate, one of the newer, teams, rosters, whatever you want to call it, to the PUBG North American scene. Unfortunately, there is no webcam on our friend's side of things, but nonetheless, I think we're going to have a great time walking through these games and not only learning a little bit about PUBG, but also learning a little bit about Liberate here. Hello GuaB, how are you? How is everything?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yep, everything's all right. I'm a little still trying to wake up, still trying to drink my coffee, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do more of these videos, and I'm really excited to finally get a chance to talk with you because we've talked a little bit online, on DMs, and all that stuff about things, but you're, as I just mentioned, a lot newer to Tier 1 North American PUBG. And so before we go into anything, I want to hear about your specific, even before we get into the team, I just want to know briefly what's your specific story in regards to the game PUBG, competitive PUBG, and like where'd you get your start, all that good stuff. Super vague intro question, essentially.
My first start was in EU, just playing. I think by then it was the PUBG Online games, just with
Mm-hmm.
some real life friends. Then when it eventually fizzled down, I spent a good month or two trying to find a team in EU, but that was not possible. I played NA for a while, for about 4 months on the 303 Academy team, and then we failed to make MPLC season 3, I believe.
Okay.
After that, I then quit the game for about 4 months. Randomly saw that Ice Tech was looking for one, and then I started playing with him ever since. That was for GLL season 3.
Okay. What was that like, that sort of 4 month period off? Do you think that that was particularly useful, even though it sounds like you didn't intend to come back to the game? How was it in regards to figure, I guess, self-reflection, taking a break from the game? Do you think that it was particularly useful in that, or is it's more just a quick pause in the storyline?
I think it was just a quick pause, a bit of a mental reset.
Okay.
The previous team was not the friendliest of teams to be on.
Hmm. Yeah, well, sorry to hear that, but I'm glad that you are with us now and with what seems to be a much healthier team, including which we can actually now get into that. You are on Liberate with Adit, Ice Tech, and Simply Matt. None of these names, when we really first saw them in the beginning of the year for the initial qualifiers for PCS, none of them really jumped out at us as veterans, at least like tier 1 veterans of the scene. What was it like sort of being overshadowed by a lot of the other bigger names while coming out through the qualifiers, and I guess sort of the learning process of how Liberate figuring out how to play, how they want to approach this game?
I enjoyed it. A lot of the teams basically said that we would not even make past round one, so that was a huge motivating factor. And then throughout the team, we've had 5 different IGLs now, so that's been an interesting learning experience,
Oh yeah,
especially for all of us individually.
because you're currently the IGL of Liberate, correct?
Yes, yes,
And you said that you started to lead this phase season, PCS
yes,
2. Okay,
yes, throughout
who
season 2.
So you're currently the in-game leader. Previously, it was Lush. What has it been like, sort of taking over that role? How has it affected your own gameplay as well as the approach to the game that Liberate takes?
The key difference between my calls and Lush's was, I believe that I prefer to kill people, and
Okay.
Lush would prefer to jump center as fast as possible every time.
Okay.
Both playstyles can work, but I think mine's, I'd say, more consistent.
Okay.
And then due to Lush being on early, we've had to improve on our communication a lot.
Okay. I do want to dig a little bit on that in regards to you want to kill people, because if you look at the stats from we've only had 2 days of the grand finals.
Yes.
But if you look at the stats there, despite being in 4th place, you guys have significantly fewer kills than your peers in that upper level of the leaderboard. The You have more kills in 5th and 6th, and you have just barely more kills than 7th and 8th. Is that something that's, I guess, surprised you, considering, as you mentioned, your playstyle, you try and go a little more aggressive?
I wouldn't say typically it would be surprising, but we got hard fed throughout this last weekend
Okay.
in around 5 of the games. So that explains why.
Okay. So you fully admit that the circle has helped you with your current
Yes,
position
it definitely
with
has.
placement. Okay. That's to be honest, that's not a hot take. I think that's something that a lot of us watching the games, whether on the broadcast or not, have sort of identified. But that's, no shade to you guys. The whole game about PUBG is about winning the games that you're supposed to win. And so hopefully walking through a couple of these rounds today, we could sort of figure out where it is, identifying those moments of you're given an advantage and you're trying to take full grasp of it, and all that good stuff, I suppose. So yeah, with all that being said, let's go into it. This is going to be the first map we're going to go over is match 2 of the first day of the grand finals. And I guess while we watch the intro, and I'm going to speed it up so we can get through the boring plane drop stuff, I guess what was you and your team's mindset going into the very opening day of grand finals?
In scrims, we've had a lot of issue with Oath and them hot dropping our Bidita hard spawn. So throughout this Thursday, we was mainly paying attention towards their drops to see if they would try anything funny with us.
Okay. I mean, all right, so this is game 2. I don't remember much happening on that game 1, but already we have Ice Tech, and I think it was you that also extended a little bit from La Bandita on that drop, and Ice Tech is still, and this isn't the first time that we're going to see this on Miramar. Well, we're only going to watch him on Miramar, but this is the only time he's done it on Miramar, of extend really far out. Is that because you noticed after the first game that Oath wasn't really contesting you too much?
Yeah, after the first game, we instantly knew that they weren't going to do anything funny. So we know that Ice is always going to be safe here because Comets take a good 4 minutes to loot, and by then we're normally already gone.
Okay. And look at that. You're already looting. I don't see the counter, unfortunately, because it's hidden by the side of the screen, but I'm going to guess, considering how it's around 4 minutes, or maybe just a little bit after at this point, because that's around the time everyone else is moving in. But nonetheless, with this circle, hard southwest, what's your approach during this time?
The idea here is just to play throughout Tumor Hills, because we know that Hard always plays the lower east compounds of where they're playing, and that they'll always leave Tumor open.
Okay.
So the idea here is we get to Tumor Hill, and then we have the ability to scout anything on any west circle. However, unfortunately, we have a DC right now, so we have to slow down everything.
Okay. This is how impactful is, obviously losing a player is going to impact a fair bit, but is a DC much different from just having a player die?
In this game, I think if Comets were 5 seconds faster, we have a really bad game.
Yeah,
just because of that one DC.
Let's go back to that a little bit, actually, because I asked a question right when the circle shift happened, which is improper on my end. So this shift happens. And you guys already took those hills just south of Chuma. I'm assuming you're aware of Comets being at least semi-close to you at this point?
Yes, we were aware that they were there.
Okay.
So the only thought that we have is that we have to force them not to come near us while we wait for the guy to hopefully come back.
Okay.
So me and Matt instantly run to the north side of the hill and Matt to start shooting them to make sure that they don't come close.
Okay.
Thankfully, you see that he comes back just now.
Yeah. And immediately you're sending it in towards... You go towards lower Chuma at this point, correct? You're not going to try and hold on to the big open field that is upper Chuma?
No, we no longer need that now, as long as we're all 4 alive.
Is there not a concern with the high ground of a team, whether it's Comets or someone else, taking above you?
No, we have enough ridges that they won't ever be able to knock one of us, and they will on the next circle have to push into us. So we'd rather just set up for that next circle push.
Okay. And so, is your focus still specifically on trying to hold out Comets or any other team from the south? What's the setup focus for how you're going to be playing out the mid game with this and the next phase?
Our aim is to either force Comets to leave or just kill them when they set up, because we know that on the circle shift we're just going to play the human high ground and just farm everyone on the edge.
Okay. Pretty quiet. Next few moments while the circle's closing. It's going to be a shift, and this one is fairly on you. Still somewhat on the edge, not dead center. That would be a little too unfair. I suppose. But what's the thought process once this shift happened?
It'd be the same thought process apart from instead of me being where I am, I probably should have gone towards ice and added in preparation for that comets to crash.
Hmm.
Because if they crashed right now and added, we probably just get one dead instantly.
Well, fortunately, they don't seem to be that aggressive onto you just yet. Is there still? Well, I guess so. Okay, so never mind. Addit's gonna actually come back to you guys. You're giving up ground for them. Is that because you're worried about other teams rotating in, like Radiance and Duel, and you're trying not to hold on to too much ground throughout the mid game
Yes,
as the circle closes?
exactly.
Okay.
We know that the circle is going to go north again, so we just need to wait, and then we'll be the one Chuma team that will survive and farm everybody.
Is that because there's unplayable around the Chuma area?
In this circle, I don't believe there is, but it typically always goes
Okay.
towards this northern side.
Okay, so now you finally do get a shift that puts you out of the circle, though you are quite close. Is this more of a let's clear our area before we push in? I mean, because you're not moving just yet, so I have to assume that that's the call.
Yes, we knew that Red had one on the far southeast, and then we knew about Comet. So the second that we see Lost move, this is when we start setting up, and we'll just spread along this top Chuma hill now, and just look for any third parties that we can.
I mean, this area seems pretty free for you, though. Is the worry though having to push even further north a fair bit of open area around that area because no one else seems to be basically between you guys and ATC dead center?
No, there's no worry, because we know that no teams can ever get here. If teams like Hard, we know that they're fighting Com and Adam knocks one in like 5 seconds. So the second that Adam knocks one, we know that they're not going to push, and we already have match set up ready.
Yeah, this is this is actually, I don't want to say a really greedy play because the majority of you are on the edge. If you had a split like this in dead center, that would really be greedy, but even this is pretty, but very confident, I suppose. Is that fair?
I would agree to the extent of Matt being there. If he gets knocked, teams could push, but I'm fairly confident that Matt won't ever get knocked here, and that we have Adam watching the only possible of a sightline.
Okay. How do you utilize this setup though to find access into the next circle because it goes north-ish once again?
Ice and Adam's job here is to hold the east and get as many kills as possible, while Adam's is to hold the west. And then you'll see in a few seconds that I instantly see on the circle pop that the shack's free, and then I'll take that in a second after I kill Ruff.
Oh, that little itty bitty shack here.
Yeah, and then I just play from that and play as an anchor in the circle.
Okay. Is this a circle that you guys think is possible to win, or is this one of those games that you're very aware that the goal is to pick up as many kills as you can, and you're likely not going to be able to make it past, say, 5th place?
So we know that we're probably not going to win this game unless we get miracle circles. So once we've killed Zen, we know that Oath is pushing, but unfortunately Adam loses his vehicle, so he dies. But after this wipe on Oath, we know that Hard's going to be the issue and that we need to kill them.
I mean, Hard aren't pushing super aggressively onto you guys after the fight with Oath. It does give you guys a little bit of time to reset. And Isaac actually splitting quite far out. Is he trying to find an exit from this engagement, or is it more of, I guess, yeah, is that his goal?
He after the Oath fight, he instantly scouted his compound and said it was clear. So we was ensuring that Matt could get to me, and then once Matt got to me, we just played for the compound on the circle shift, knowing that Hard would have to fight ATC.
Okay. But this compound though is still on the edge. How good are the sightlines around this regards towards what's actually in the play zone? Not talking about hard shifts or even this nonsense down in the southwest.
Aside from seeing hard shift, this compound's really bad.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of this compound at all. And as you'll see in this part in a moment, right here, we needed to commit to the fight on hard after we saw that 2 of them got knocked.
Because otherwise,
if you pause it right here, you'll see that we're in my spot right now. None of the Sonics, even though they're not looking at me on this exact time, none of the Sonics can actually see me.
Okay.
So a push up onto Lobes would have been free. But because I believe Ice was getting shot, him and Matt stayed back for too long, and then it leads to us not capitalizing on the free knocks on Chubb and Maluk, and then eventually we have no longer any surprise element on ATC or Horde.
He got literally one shot in his direction from Monty, and then, oh, okay, so Marcelik has it on him. Okay, that's what has him down.
And then ideally we don't have to get 1v2'd by Lobes there, but
ideally, yes.
Yeah.
Is this do you think that you could have played this out? Say you ran this entire game back, especially this past couple of moments. Is this a game that you think you could have come out better in other, I guess, runs of it?
Yes, this game we should have had around 12 to 13 kills.
Okay.
We had an issue of Adam losing a tire, and then the vehicle that lost the tire not being able to go up the hill, so he had to unfoot it and die. And then if we were a 4-man, we would have been able to hold hard easier and never allow them to push to the shack and killed them. And then from that, we would have just taken the fight versus ATC and probably wiped them.
Okay. Still not confident that you would have gotten a win at that point, I don't think, but at least maybe even like a third? That'd be asking
a third
too
or
much?
a fourth, yes.
Okay. All right.
We'd probably be a 2-man in the scenario and just hope that Sonics don't destroy us.
Fingers crossed. That's
yeah.
Okay, here we are with the second map of today's episode. It's going to be the first map of day 2, which is on Erangel, since we, for this grand finals, the format is 1 map a day, or rather 1 map for the entire day, however many rounds that is, which is, of course, this time around 4. Anyway, Erangel, that's what we're on right now. That's going to be the last 2. The first one's going to be the first game where it's not an amazing round from you all in terms of kills, but I was just particularly interested in on how you guys approach this game, because it was at least in a very unique part of the map, one that we don't see all too often. But as usual, while the plane is, let's not go too fast, while the plane is going across the map, what's your team's mindset? Because this is a brand new day. This is a brand new set. I don't remember where you ended after the first day, but how are you approaching Erangel as an entire series?
Well, typically, we don't have Later being in the spot that he's in right now. So that's a huge wrench on our plans, because on the circle shift like this, we would be the team that's in heaven right now.
Okay.
We would have already sent one there to loot. But because we didn't hear or see Roth pick up Later, we assumed that they would still be in that area and potentially be in heaven themselves. So the only thing that we can do here is just play edge and loot up as much as possible and look to control the circle. Because otherwise we would have, I wouldn't say have a lot more points this game, but we would not be in the spot that we're in right now.
You feel that this is a pretty, not defeatist position, but still less of a controlling one?
Yes, it is not the spot that we'd want at all. It's not controlling enough of the circle, in my opinion, to the point where we'd actually be confident in winning a game.
Well, Dodge do roll up, and you're able to deter them at least a little bit. And you're still stretching out. I have seen, while reviewing all of the maps, picking which ones we're going to be going over. You guys are big fans of having pretty tight, but still splits nonetheless. Like you rarely extend as wide as you'd see perhaps like SDK spread, because they especially like to go real wide. But you still do, even right now, you have a little bit of a belt going on. Do you feel like that's something particularly unique to you guys?
I think it has been for a while, but I think more teams are getting understanding that teams aren't punishing splits. I think that's the key here in America, that no one punishes splits ever. Everyone is allowed to split as much as they want. But
here's the interesting one. Circle shift. I don't remember the last time we've seen this part of the map. We've seen the area north of Yasnaya a little bit, but usually that comes into the focus of the game towards the late game. I don't think we've seen this sort of what I call the witch with the road south of Kameshki, really a centerpiece of phase 2. So how do you approach this? And I can start playing while I talk through your rotation, but I'll slow it down.
The idea here is to full send as far north as possible, because we're not going to get anything on the south. There's a prio on the next circle shift, and even if we did get anything on the south, we're not going to get enough points in this game in order for us to actually have a good game. So the idea is, as long as we get anywhere north, the circle more than likely will end near hard, And as you see
Okay.
Zen crashing them, I'm assuming they're thinking similar to us. The
Okay.
circle's going to end near hard.
But surely, and you're getting shot right now. Surely this was not a comfortable rotation. You weren't even given the luxury of having a wide wrapping rotation towards the east because that's of course water. You're sending it through the center. I mean, are we talking like how clenched was the squad during that?
To be honest, only one person was clenched.
Oh.
Only Ice was the one person that got shot the whole time. All of us was full HP the whole time, which is
Okay.
surprising.
Yeah, I mean the observing it, you could say that was just because everyone else is also in the middle of their own rotation. And
Yeah,
watching back, it really reminded me of old school PUBG, where it was just the center push meta, where circle shifted, everyone rushed towards center. Next circle, everyone rushed towards center. This looked very similar to that. Of course, a lot more frames this time around.
debatable.
Okay, fair enough. But right here though, so you actually able to take two compounds, and you already established a little bit of a split of your own with Ice Tech all the way down south, away from the you and Matt on I guess the center of your separation. Do you feel like that was a risky play for Ice because I
It's
believe we're about to
extremely
see him get
risky.
taken out.
He gets taken down on the next circle. But the idea here is if we have Adam there and then Ice there, we have control of half the circle already because no one can push into us if they're not willing to risk their death by just sending it at us. I think it's like halfway between the second circle. Yeah, you'll see here that Sonic's killing by sending it to him.
Okay.
I think in a normal scenario he just kills the Sonic's guy, but he was too busy shooting a different team that was rotating past.
Okay, so if you were to have this situation again, you'd put you guys in the exact same situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're shooting at
Like,
Wooly when H-Win
then he
arrives.
turns the exact time, that
Oh.
wins, and just misses him off the corner of his screen.
Oh, you actually look back in his POV.
Yeah,
Ah.
it's
Oh.
just unfortunate timing,
Yeah.
really. There.
Yeah, that is one of those. I don't usually use this word as much as other people do, but that one really is unlucky.
Yeah, I think if he kills Swin there, we probably win this game because we'll have control of all the circle.
So what's the goal? Because even on this third phase, you guys got favored at least a little bit. I don't know if people were expecting it to. It was center from what phase 2 was, the circle that we're seeing right now, more or less. But I think a lot of people were still hoping at least there's more land in play before the phase 4 circle shift. But your goal right now is just sort of try and deal damage to everyone else around you, and
Yeah,
just put
we just
pressure on
have
everyone.
exactly. Yeah, we just have to sit and wait, really.
So a couple of teams rotating in, but no one comes to your area because it's actually still quite wide open around your compounds. But this next shift, I mean, Veritas are pushing you, but let's just talk about hypothetically, if your mind wasn't in the middle of combat, what would you hopefully want to do during this phase?
We would still sit and relax at the same time, because if we have Adam there on this circle, then all on our north is clear, and then we can display towards where VTS are on the next circle pop. It's unfortunate here that I believe that the reason that they crashed is because they never saw him shoot, and if he shot, I don't think they crash here, and then we would have had more circle control.
Even if, or do you don't think they would have been able to recognize that it's only one individual in that compound, and then they'd send it in anyway? You think in the chaos that they would just assume it would be a full squad there?
They would have no idea, in my opinion. They would have just sent it towards where Jazza is now and played those radius.
Okay. But still, at least Adit was able to get out, make it back, still have control of your compound.
Yeah, that's
putting pressure
the most important there.
Yeah, especially after losing Ice, you want to be able to keep at least 3 up. But do you not feel at least a little bit of FOMO of missing out of a lot of the action happening on the west side of the circle? I don't know exactly how the sightlines are from this compound, but the fact that you only have 2 kills makes me think that it's not super great over towards SCK Fabled, Radiance, Dodge, etc.
No, because I know that the circle is going to end near ATCR, and that late game we will get the kill points that we need.
Okay.
In an ideal game,
Bam.
because yeah, when northeast of ATCR, there's just like 5 different dips that only the compound that we're playing right now can see.
Mm.
So as long as we've been playing this compound, as long as we did, we know those dips are going to be clear on the next circle shift. So all we have to do now is send 2 people early, and then I'll anchor just to make sure that VTS don't backfill my compound to kill us.
Well, that's exactly what happens. Matt, edit, push forward. You anchor. Blue's pushing in though. So of course you're forced out. But again, you're going to a split. You're on your each individual dips, I assume.
Yeah.
But surely you can all see each other more or less, right?
Adam and Matt can see each other, and I'm in no man's land in my spot.
Okay.
Yeah, my only goal here is to ensure that Oath don't wrap on Adam and Matt, while Adam and Matt hopefully 2v3 VTS.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, okay, because you're talking about like you're here to make sure Veritas don't backfill you, basically 1v3. You hope that Matt and Attic can 2v3 Veritas while you just watch for Oath. This sounds like you're prepared to take these very disadvantageous engagements, but you're so confident about it.
Yeah, I'm confident in the ability of all of us individually, especially in the spots that we're in.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. But the next circle shift somewhat centered, just a little bit towards the southeast, and you guys, I don't think this circle affects your approach to this game much, right?
No, it doesn't. No, the only misplay here is on me. I should have realized the second that Oath was fine that I needed to just run at VTS and kill them. Because if we look, they just crashed Matt for free because they had to push into us, and I just failed to recognize that.
Oh, so you're saying that you should have gone back to assist?
Yes, the second that I saw that Oath was fighting ill, I should have immediately ran back to Matt and Adam just to help them because VTS have no other play but the crashes.
Okay.
But at the time, I just wasn't aware of that.
Okay. I mean, you're still up S2 though. You have a pretty, it's all right control. I feel like you're helped out by the fact that ATC, as gifted as you were, ATC were really gifted today. On the airball games and shifts. I think you're very assisted by the fact that ATC can see a lot around them. You saw them putting pressure on Illusion, especially to keep Top Dog and Icy Flex from pushing and wiping you. But this next circle shift away from you, are there any real access points that you and Adit have to get into this next phase?
No, my call on this circle pop is for Adam to kill Keenan, and I just need to try and 1v2 ill here. And just to get the 5 3 points there.
Easy.
Because there's no way for us to ever get in the circle. Especially when we don't have any vehicles.
And that crate doesn't help, I assume?
I think Adam actually takes it. Never mind, he does not.
No, it's not even, I don't even think it's landed yet, yeah.
Oh, right.
He does get Keenan, though. And Illusion, and I think it's McCoy that takes out Illusion, so they are able to climb into 3rd place because of that. Low kills, as you mentioned. But I do, I'm glad to see, I'm glad that I picked this game for a reason, though, because your approach was an interesting one, and nonetheless. And no one can really fault you for playing in, I mean, let's just go back to see. No one can really fault you for playing in an area of the map that no one else is in, considering everyone else is trying to crawl in from the west side. It's a sacrifice of potential kill points for significantly higher chance of placement points.
Yeah.
And I think running that back was the right call all the way through.
I think we just misplayed individually there, and then my part on the IGL to not run into them, and we would have had a higher kill game. Only by about 3 or 4 more points, but that would have been a lot more points.
Yeah, it's true. But still in 4th place. Don't worry about it. So the last game we're going to go for is the final game, and I think I probably would have picked this anyway, but you did tell me that you wanted to go over this one as well, because in your words, you found it. Just trying to skip ahead a little bit. Found it interesting how other teams played it compared to you. We can go over that when it happens. But yeah, final game. I'm assuming you guys are feeling pretty good.
Yeah, we're happy so far. Nothing unusual happened, so.
This circle, though, what's the general approach?
Yeah. So typically on this circle, we play to loot late and then play the edge where C9 and Envy Hill is. Typically, we always get those for free, and then from there we just play edge and farm teams towards Pachinki Hill. But
Okay.
I actually haven't seen why, but for some reason we saw free of dodge on where Monty is right now later in the game. I believe they were fighting with Duel. I haven't actually had the chance to see this part yet.
Well, let's not jump ahead. We'll get there. When we get there, as they say. But general looting patterns right now. You don't have that pressure of later that we saw in game 1, but actually Zenith are rotating in as well. Was this a
This
set
was not a
piece?
deliberate camp. No, we had no idea that they would be coming this way. Otherwise, we should have. If we was ready for it, we would have killed 3 of them. But we were just happy go merry looting.
And then wait, wait, those aren't our vehicles. Oh wait, guys.
Yeah, and here is the interesting part where we have Duel and Dodge playing hard edge. And we just were forced up because we've already committed to the rotate to just send it through, and then as a result, we lost one. We're in a terrible spot in the circle.
Were you originally?
Typically,
yeah.
Typically, we know that Comets will play the way that they did, but we're confident enough that if one of them shoots at us, we'll just blind crash them and kill them.
But the fact that Duel and Dodge were there,
it really ruined our start of the game, and we're forced to play in a really bad spot in Circle 1 just to try and keep our vehicles alive.
Yeah,
and
you actually
once
had
we, and once we see that Comets leave, we know that we can have a breath of fresh air and actually start scouting again, though. So that's okay.
Yeah.
My worry. My worry there was if. Go on, sorry.
Oh my god. This is silly. No, I'm just saying. Yes, it looks like everyone left that area with this next circle shift, trying to go north of Pachinki, and you have a lot more free area. Your worry. What was your worry?
The Comets just blind crashing and killing us because they knocked me as I pulled up on the shack, and then one of them started pushing east, and I assumed that they were just going to blind crash and kill us. But thankfully, they just played for the circle.
Yeah. Gives you guys the time to go up to this compound. I think definitely a better compound in general than the one that you were previously at, but I still don't know how confident I would be in this situation. But the next circle shift coming down in your direction, at this point, were you able to sort of reset your mentality away from let's stabilize ourselves and now how do we get more out of this game? How do we try and take control of what we can?
On this circle pop, I basically said we probably win this game. Because we know that if we can hold our compound and play slow on the hill, because that's more than likely where the circle is going to end, we'll just end up winning if we can keep 3 alive.
Is there a worry that this compound's going to get pushed at some point, though? Because it's not, definitely not one of the bigger compounds.
There is a worry.
But, okay.
There is a worry for sure, especially when we don't know that CG's here for this long, and we only see them on the next circle pop. And our biggest worry is them, the crashiness. So the whole time we leave the north side of the compound free because the only prio that we have here is just to kill CG.
Next circle shift still heavily favors you guys again.
This part was a little confusing with STK.
How so?
I personally expected there only to be like 2 there. I didn't expect the full 4 of STK to crash there. So we read that Aguila was one of STK there.
Ah.
Which then gets confirmed here. Yeah. Yeah. Because we put Ice in that position expecting it was a 2-2 and expecting the Purdy and whoever's with him there to push us.
Oh, okay.
Or to get control of our hill.
I mean, they eventually got to that point, but
yeah.
Do you think if Aguila was SDK, they would have pushed you sooner, and it was just the fact that they were only able to take that position so soon for the next circle shift that it stalled them out?
I'm not entirely sure if they would have pushed us, but it was definitely a big threat of ours and one of the prios that we placed in that game.
Okay. But with this next circle shift finally gets off of the comp. I mean, there's a small bit of the compound, but let's just say that it pulls away from the compound. You're aware of CG?
Yes.
Okay.
And we set up now, fully expecting him to full crashes.
But alas.
Yeah,
I think a lot
really
of people.
Sure
yeah.
Yeah, I think they kind of threw the game by not crashing us though.
I don't think you would have been the only ones expecting CG to crash, not just in that position, but also just Carnage in general.
Yeah.
But now you guys pull away, able to set up towards the rest of the circle. Do you remember how many kills you have at this point? It's not many at all.
2 to 3 at the maximum.
Okay. But now that
And
Ice
then,
it gets dropped, that of course stalls things out a little bit.
yeah, and then I get ice killed because I get knocked here also by Penta. And then because of that, Matt has to res me instead of ice, which was really bad on my part. But on this circle pop, we know that we're still fine. We just have to hold our edge, and then eventually we have to kill Crop.
You're aware of Crop's existence at this point?
Yes, he sent it like circle 3 towards us.
Okay. I mean, you seemed like you were pretty confident at this point, even being down to a duo and still a number of people left in the game. Is it just because that hill that Veritas are on keeps you isolated from the majority of the fold teams in the north?
Yeah, all we have to do is just bide our time. We know that VTS are going to get pinned by 5 different teams, and on that point is when we start looking to go aggressive if we can and pick up some kill points. I didn't expect to win the game until I saw this circle as a team.
Shift. You guys knew that you would win again?
We'd either come second or win, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Assuming you can get rid of Wooly, and well, that's easy done. What's the biggest threat from your current position?
The biggest threat is STK, because we haven't heard them in a long time. The second that we knew that Wooly was dead, the prior was here was just to wait and see what STK does, because we can't ever push them.
Yeah. But luckily, the Sonics are a big enough threat that it forces STK to pay attention to them to the north, pushes Sonics away over and towards Veritas then come to counter that out. And there's a big old fight that happens on the north side that you guys take full advantage of. What do you know exactly what's going on here? What's the information that you have as far as what teams are engaging whom when?
We knew it was 3 of Sonics, and we knew it was 2 of STK. We just wasn't sure if VTS was a full team or not, or if there was a solo anywhere. But apart from that, we had a pretty good understanding of the circle and what we needed to do.
But you knew that STK were in the general area that they are right now, and that fight is where it's at? Okay. Walk me through. I'm going to slow it down a little bit because these final moments can get a little hectic, but walk me through your approach towards this sort of final end zone end game.
The only idea here is that we need to kill STK, and we know that Sonics normally have one guy wide flanking. We wasn't sure if they would wide flank us or if they'd wide flank STK, so we started smoking our right in preparation to push STK on the left.
Okay. But I suppose, fortunately for you guys, you end up doing a pincer with Sonics onto STK, allowing you to bring it down to a 2v2 because H1 gets fully flushed there. But that's the wide flank from Shrimsy that you're worried about. Is that perhaps coming out later than you expected? Did you think that...
We expected them to be fully grouped, especially after they got one knocked right there.
Okay. So it's almost the opposite of what you expected, essentially, is what they do.
Yeah. We're lucky that Matt survived there, really. And then the same principle stands here, though. We still need to kill Purdy.
Yeah. At least you're able to recognize where Shrimsy is. More smokes come out, a couple of shots pushing him back. But now Matt's following up with you guys. Get the drop onto Purdy, and how do you play this out? I'm at this point sure that you're expecting the 1-1 from Sonics.
Yeah, I'm trying to 1v1 the guy on top, and then Matt's just going to 1v1 the guy on the right is basically all we had to do.
Yeah, easy. Just 1v1.
I mean, Matt with 2v1s, I didn't have to do anything.
well, there it is. You do, of course, win the game. And as we mentioned at the very beginning, this day especially, I don't know if hard-fed is the right word. I think on this game you could make that argument. But there is, obviously talking to you, so basically we realized that there's definitely decision-making that you employed to put yourself in really good situations, really good scenarios, and that's, of course, I want to say half, but I feel like it's almost 80% of PUBG. But do you think going into the next 2 weeks of grand finals, should we expect similar gameplay coming up from you guys? Do you think that this was just an unusual set and that we're going to see maybe more pushing, more action, more kills from you guys?
I think it should be more pushing and more kills for us. I don't expect to get as hard fed this week as what we'll do in the following weeks.
Hmm.
I'll take it if we do, but
You'll take it.
I
You'll take
don't
it.
expect it.
What's your read of the current meta, the current pacing, the current atmosphere of the grand finals? Not of any particular team in general, but I guess on a whole, because during group stage, there's 24 teams, there's different rotating groups, and even if it were the same 16, each event sort of has its own feeling to it. What's your read of the current situation of the current grand finals, and how do you think it's going to change in the next upcoming weeks?
I think at the moment the circles have been a little different to fully understand that meta, but I think it should go back to the normal playing edge will be the most efficient way. But at the moment, a lot of teams are, especially us, are getting away with having high points just by getting compound fed. But I think in the next 2 weeks, you'll see a lot more teams deciding just to play edge and farm and fight their way in.
Okay. All right. I guess that's about it. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share towards friends, family, fans? Because we have 2 weeks of grand finals left once this video is out. Should be on the next couple of days. Anything left to say?
I appreciate everyone who supports us in the chat. I've been seeing a lot of emotes of us recently, which I didn't expect, and it's very rewarding and encouraging. And I hope that we can maintain our form and maybe even win.
All right. Well, we're going to have to see, but certainly good luck. You're definitely one of the more exciting new teams making their way into Tier 1 of PUBG. I've been a fan of yours since I initially saw you in the original qualifications for PCS1. And so it's exciting that I get this chance to break down these games with you. And good luck in the rest of the Grand Finals.
Thank you.